Hey everybody, welcome to American Idol Unaired. I'm your host Bennett Shear, back with another blast from the past episode. Let's go back in time to 2011 with a contestant from season 10 of American Idol, Chris Medina.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
When is the last time that you did an interview or really sat down and talked about your American Idol experience?
It gets brought up frequently, but never in depth. Never. It's just kind of something you glaze over, something you kind of pass through. People, especially now that I live in Europe, live in Scandinavia, it's not like the main topic. People actually sometimes forget I was even an American Idol contestant.
Can I ask what brought you there?
Yeah, absolutely. It was actually because of American Idol. If I had to be honest, American Idol, when everything aired and everything happened for me, I it was kind of this spectacular event, very organic, very viral. And I released the song shortly after my uh, participation called Water Words,
Nice.
and that became kind of a success globally. And so while I was traveling, um, some years down the line, I met a woman, and we ended up having a child together. And so I moved here to be with my kid. And so that's how it all went down, really. I originally went there for work and then somehow met someone. And then as years went on, casual friends became long distance relationship, became a family. And so that's how it happened. Actually, so many things have happened because of the show that I would have never expected. I think, uh, I don't even know if people even remember what I was doing before American Idol. I was a barista at Starbucks. And so, to go from hoping one day that I could be a manager of a store to traveling the world, playing for different audiences all over the world, royalty all over the world, having any kind of success whatsoever with music is mind boggling to me, really.
It's inspiring, man. People don't understand that one audition truly can change your life, and it sounds corny, but you of all people, I'm sure, could attest to the fact that it's true.
Yeah, it's beyond true. It's no joke either. I mean, that show not only saved my, you know, gave me some sort of music career, but it saved my life. It saved the lives of the people that were uh, involved in that whole situation. It inspired a lot of the people in the community, and I don't know. It gave not just me, but everybody in my surrounding area, my family, friends, just a whole bunch of energy.
So take me back then. You had a lot going on in your life, and I'm curious if that was the direct reason that you went on the show or if it was strictly because you wanted to be a musician on TV. What's the whole story as to why you went on American Idol?
Right, right. Well, okay. So I was with a woman named Juliana. She was my wife to be. She was my fiance at the time. I was an aspiring musician. I had several odd jobs. I was a cook for a little while, uh, and I was graduating Columbia College in Chicago to try to work in some sort of studio. But prior to that, I was playing a whole bunch of gigs, bar gigs, um, local gigs, anything I can get my hands on. But it felt like music was starting to just kind of it was going to be a pastime, and I was going to have to focus on being a family guy, a husband, maybe eventually a dad. And so I started to give up on the idea of music. But Juliana was really she was always for it, and about I don't know, about a year and a half before we were supposed to get married, she said, "I want you to try out for American Idol." And I said, and this might shock a lot of people, but I kind of didn't really watch the show. I didn't really dig it too much. It wasn't, I could never see myself on that show and really succeeding. I didn't think I had the charisma or anything that kind of fit the mold there. And so I was totally against it. But she was just like, okay, Chris, that's fine if you don't want to do it, but I swear to God, she said, and this is her words. She said, if we get married, and you tell me if I ever hear that you could have done something with the music, and the reason why you didn't do anything with it is because you got married, I will be so upset. So this is your last opportunity to make anything happen with your career. I really want you to do it. Could you please do it for me? And so reluctantly, I went for it, right? And I kind of didn't really put any effort into it. I didn't dress. I didn't shave really. I didn't like wear nice clothes. I didn't show up early. I didn't do anything. And maybe that was just because I was afraid of failing. So I thought if I didn't put any effort into it, if I happened to fail, then I could always say I didn't put any effort into it. It was kind of a chicken, really, back then. But needless to say, I didn't make it the first time I tried. And she was so upset with me that she saw all the things I could have done better, and she wanted me to try again. I said, I will never try out for that show ever again. It's never going to happen. She was so mad. And I remember we got into like a huge argument about it. Fast forward, she gets into a car accident, and life just stops. Everything stops. Life just becomes taking her to therapy Monday through Friday in the morning and me going to work 5 days out of the week to try to keep her on my health insurance. There was no time for music at all. There wasn't anything. And so for like a whole year and a half, almost a whole year and a half, maybe even 2 years, it was just this. And everybody was super depressed. It was a year and a half. And I remember being at work at Starbucks and I'm hating life. I'm tired. I'm sad. I'm mopping up a floor. This is not how I expected life to turn out. And I pull out my phone, I look at an email, and it's a local promoter that used to book like my band when I was in a band. And he was informing all of the singers that he had worked with that there was an American Idol audition in Milwaukee. And I remember being annoyed that I even got the message because at the time it just depressed me to even think that there's all these opportunities out there. Even if I didn't want them, I couldn't, even if I did want it, I couldn't have it at the time because I was just so consumed by this accident. Everybody was. It was devastating. And I went home. It was time to give Juliana her medicine, and her mother's watching American Idol. And I swear, I was so annoyed. It was just like, oh my God. And so I'm trying to give her her applesauce and teach her how to swallow. And her mother is watching it and says, "Man, I really don't like the season this year. I don't like, it just doesn't, I'm not connecting with it. Have you been watching it?" And I just looked at her and I just said, honestly, I don't give a shit about American Idol. I don't give a shit about anything to do with that show. And she was annoyed by the way that I answered. And she turned off the phone and she slammed the remote control on the coffee table. And she walked up to her bedroom, and on the way up, she said, Chris, this accident happened to all of us. You know, basically saying, don't take it out on anybody. You got to remember, I'm her mother and this is my kid and I'm going through this too. And I felt like a dick, and I just felt really hurt by the whole thing. But at that time, Juliana had progressed a little bit, and so she was able to communicate a little bit with her hands, and she was trying to point and tell me something. And I had no energy to deal with it. Absolutely no patience, no energy, nothing. And I just said, I don't know what you're trying to say. I'm tired. Can we just deal with this tomorrow? And she was trying to communicate, trying to say something. And I went and I got this dry erase board, and we had to put a weight on her hand so that it could hold her. She would shake. And so this weight would help her be able to write on this dry erase board. And felt like it took 15, 20 minutes just to get 3 words, or four words, if you were on. That's what it said, if you were on. And this is a true, true, true story. By that point, after like 20 minutes, I had no idea what she was referring to. I couldn't even comprehend what the hell she was talking about. And I said, I'm so sorry. I'm tired. we'll just talk about this tomorrow. And I turned off the light as she was trying to communicate with me. And I laid on the couch next to her uh, bed in the hospital bed. We had this like little hospital bed in the living room. And then for some reason in the middle of the night, it was like something hit me, like a brick of like enlightenment. And I kind of stood up and I said, she was talking about the show, if you were on. And so I got up, I turned the light on, I woke her up and I said, if you were on, you were talking about what your mom was talking about. And she was just like, she gave me a thumbs up because she wasn't able to speak at the time. And I said, holy shit. I was like, you were talking about that I should audition. And she was just like, yeah. So, and I was like, you're saying that the show would be better if I was on. And she gave me a thumbs up. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to tell your mom that tomorrow. Um, and so her mom wakes up. I tell her the story and she goes, you should try out. And I was just like, I don't know. I'm like, it's funny you say that. I got this message from this guy saying that there was an American Idol audition in Milwaukee. She's like, Chris, you should try. And and she goes, what do you think, Juliana? Should he try? And she was like that. And I was like, well, I don't know. And she goes, seriously, what if something good happens with your music? And, maybe you can help. It'll make you happier, And I said, all right, if you really want me to try, I'll give it a shot. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, and I promise this time I'll put on nicer clothes. I'll show up early. I'll shave, I'll be all bright eyed and bushy. And so bush tailed. And so if you look at the audition, I'm like glowing because I had just shaved right before I went on the audition. And I showed up super early. I was like the second one there. And I was very eager to try. And needless to say, I made it through enough rounds to where they were able to interview me, and that's how they were able to find out about the story. And that was a whole process in its own. But that's how I tried. That's how American Idol happened. It was kind of just like it literally just kind of fell. I couldn't avoid it if I tried. It was too many people just American Idol, American Idol, American Idol. Too many people suggesting, too many people throwing it in my face. I couldn't avoid it the second time.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. We don't see all of that leads up to what happens when you meet the judges. There's also the producer auditions, and that's before they get to your story. This is just let's hear you sing, and you're probably in a stadium, right, or some sort of venue in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
You're probably hearing other people sing, and there's producers going, no, next, no, next, no, next. Was there still any doubt in your mind? Because let's be honest, you really didn't want to go for the show for a long time.
Yeah, to be honest with you, when I looked at the songs that I could possibly sing, I was like, okay, it was the script. I remember settling on that and going, okay, that's the one I'm going to do, and I'll have a backup one. I'll sing, I think it was something by Led Zeppelin. I think that was like the fallback. And, you know, I'm a, there's like maybe 16, there's like a row of four people in my aisle. And so there's like 16 in the queue of four. And I swear I heard that song like six times before I got up there. And I was just like, well, there's no way I'm going to sing that one. And I get up there, and as I'm about to sing it, I hear another like female like singing it next to me. And I looked at the guy and I'm like, well, you've probably heard the song a bunch of times, so I'm not going to sing it. So I'm going to sing Led Zeppelin. And wait. He goes, just because you hear someone singing a song that you want to sing doesn't mean you can't sing it. He's like, if that's your best song, if that's the one you feel the most confident, if that's the one you practiced, I suggest you sing that one. And I was just like, all right. And so I sang the script, and he was just like, brilliant. And he sent me through, and I was like, holy shit. And then you go through another round, right? Because that's like what, 120,000 people, I don't know, or like 16,000 people in that stadium. And then they narrow it down and narrow it down and narrow it down. Eventually, I think you go through like four before you're in front of the producer, the producers of the show. You sing it, and they let me through, and they said, go in this room and talk to these people and tell them they'll interview you and ask you some questions. And they really ask questions. They get you to tell things. Like even if you're really trying not to say it. Because I remember going into it, and I forget who. I think it was Juliana's sister. She's just like, maybe you shouldn't say anything about Juliana because it always backfires. And I was just like, I don't know anything about the show. So what do you mean it backfires? She's like, there was this contestant named Danny, and he talked about he talked about his wife, Danny Goki or something from season, I don't
8.
remember. Yeah. He talked about his wife, and it was a very touching story, but eventually he got far enough and people were saying he didn't deserve it and da 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 da, even though he was a great singer. And I was just like, okay, so don't say anything. She's like, yeah, don't say anything. Like David Cook, don't say nothing. I was just like, okay, David Cook, Danny Goki, got it. And so I went in there literally trying not to say anything about Juliana and my situation. But they were just asking, like, do you have any girlfriends? Do you have, what do you do? And eventually it's just like, well, I do have a fiance and I'm also a caretaker. And they're like, caretaker, do you work at a nursing home? No, I take care of my fiance. Why do you take care of your fiance? It's like, holy shit. Okay, here we go. We're going here. So, yeah, they just pull it out of you. And they found out about it. And when they found out about that, I remember telling the story and the room kind of like getting quieter and quieter and people starting to pay attention to what I was saying. And the room, there were people crying. There were other people who, other producers or people involved with American Idol. They stopped interviewing some of the other people to listen in on what was going on. And when I was done, uh, they said thank you. And I got up and I was walking out, and the lady chased me and she said, we already know that we're going to want to do a story on you. Is that okay? And I said, well, I have to ask uh, my fiance's mother and her family, and everyone has to be okay with it. And so I did. And her mother was just like, you know, this is fantastic opportunity. What if somebody's out there that will see this and can help? What if there's someone out there that has gone through something similar and knows something we don't? She's like, it's your obligation to do it. Even if you're afraid, you should do it because there's a possibility that something good could come out of it. So do it and do it with confidence, and you have our full support. And so that's when they came to the house and did the interview I think that interview and that story and that audition, the way that it all came together changed my life overnight. It was like instantaneous. It was instantaneous.
As the viewer, we can remember what it was like when they cut it all together, but what do you remember about first walking in that room, seeing the judges? Because that's an experience in itself to actually be there, right? So what do you remember about actually getting to the judges' auditions?
Two things. Up until that point, I've never been good at speaking to an audience. I've never been good at speaking to, like, if there was ever a camera on me, I always felt like weird, and I always felt like just silly, like not confident, maybe a little insecure, not knowing what to say or how to say it. And I remember sitting there with all these people, and they're warming up and they look cool and they're dressed cool and they sing absolutely phenomenal. And I just remember trying to convince myself that I belong there, that I can be there. And I remember this camera, I could see it zeroing in on me. And I'm sitting there, and my little ring is swinging, and I'm playing with it. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, remember why you're here, remember why you're here. And it was like a switch. I just turned it on and I said, all right, I'm not afraid. None of this means anything. I have to just turn it on. And it was kind of like a outer body experience. As soon as the camera came on, I was able to be the person I am today. And when I walked into the room with the judges, I saw them, especially Steven Tyler, someone that I grew up admiring and listening to. I mean, obviously J Lo is a superstar. Randy, I knew of him, uh, but those two specifically walked in, and for some reason they didn't seem like superstars in that moment. They just seemed like people because I was so in, I guess you could say, the zone. I was just like in this mindset that I was on a mission, and I was prepared for anything. So I didn't feel nervous. I didn't feel I didn't feel starstruck or nervous. I just felt uh, happy to be there. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that I was there. I remember thinking like I made it this far, and there they are. So I was like, I can't believe that I'm here in front of you guys right now. But it wasn't because they were who they are. It was because I couldn't believe that I actually made it this far. And so, yeah, that was it was an outer body experience, that whole thing. And I went there alone. And right before I went in, my family, Juliana, everybody was there, and they surprised me. Like they had all driven down to support
Wow.
me. See, a lot of people think that I brought her there, and I didn't. I went alone uh, because I didn't think there was any way to get her there. But they managed, and yeah, that alone almost, it gave me all the confidence that I needed to go through with what I was going through. When the audition aired on TV, man, the support that we got from the neighborhood and from everybody, it really like revitalized the family, because the family was super down. Juliana's family was super down. My family was super down about the accident. And so it was something to get out of bed. It was something to look
Mm.
forward to, like to be able to get together and see, first it started off at a little pub down the block they would watch. And then it grew and it grew and it grew. And it ended up at this place where it was like 2,000 people were there to watch this on all the screens in the venue. And it was it was mania. It was wild. And at the center of it all was the support for Juliana, and all the help that came for Juliana was incredible. And so when I was on the show, I did feel the pressure to stay on. I tried to stay on as long as I could, but we all know how that turned out.
Well, let's kind of break down those different rounds because I mean, if I'm correct, they aired all of them.
What was that first round? I think that for well, you get the golden ticket. I think the first round was like another a cappella solo. I think I did Jason Mraz. I don't know if that aired or not. I only sing Jason Mraz. No offense to Jason Mraz, he's a fantastic singer, fantastic artist, but I never listened to him. I listened to like punk rock, rock and roll, a lot of indie music. So I never really listened to Jason Mraz or John Mayer or anything like that. I only started to get into it because of American Idol, and because Juliana always thought, hey, you would sound good if you sang this, or you would sound good if you sang that. And because she knew the show, I was just like trying to take pointers from the family because they watched the show so much. So it was like they were coaching me, like, you should sing Jason Mraz. I was like, what song does he have? And so I went through his list, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do that one. I think it was I'm Yours.
Yeah.
And that was the first time, all those songs was the first time I had ever tried to sing like that. That was the group one was a fun one because we had to, I think we sang CeeLo Green, and we had to, it wasn't something I picked. I think it was something, this guy named Caleb Hawley, I think he picked it. And I don't even know if they aired any of his stuff. He was a fantastic artist too. Yeah, I remember doing that. And they're like, we have to dance. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh man, I feel so naked without my guitar. I don't know what I'm going to do. And so I had to like try to dance. It was horrible, horrible. It was so like outside of the box, outside of my comfort zone. And, but again, I didn't feel like I was there for me, really. I felt like I was there for something else. And so I was just kind of trying to go with the flow. Um, I think to the two performances that maybe represented who I could be as an artist was maybe the first audition and my last performance singing Coldplay. Those two performances were maybe the ones that represented not only how I felt, but showcased my voice the best way.
Both of those performances, I think those were the moments where we really saw the full extent of your story. Because going back to the audition, we heard you sing, and then Juliana came in, and I remember watching Steven Tyler in particular with Julie. It was like something, and he would always ask, how's Julie, every time you came back for another round. I don't know what
Yeah.
your perspective is, but as a viewer, I thought they just seemed like really genuine people.
I felt like for some reason Stephen, he was the maybe the most down to, not down, I wouldn't say down to earth, because how can you be necessarily? but he was the one who wasn't being pulled in a thousand different directions. Like I was surprised that like when there was a break or when we had finished something, the amount of people who rushed on set to like touch up makeup or pull someone into a room. Randy was getting pulled in a bunch of different directions. Jennifer Lopez was getting pulled in a bunch of different directions. So I knew we never really got a chance as contestants to necessarily connect with them. But Steven was always just kind of like waving it off. Like he didn't want to, he didn't need to do too much makeup. He wasn't really into it. There was nobody controlling him or pulling him in a different direction. And so he would step off and hug a contestant or give them some pointers or, talk to them about things, tell a story, and he was available. And so I think that for me, he was the most, you know, I did get a chance, like maybe 5 minutes once, to spend some time with Jennifer, and she was absolutely such a kind. Like those 5 minutes were valuable. The quality of the 5 minutes were valuable. But Stephen was available, and so it didn't seem like he had like bodyguards around him. Jennifer had like two or three people around her at all times, so it was a little bit harder. But the when she did give her time, it was 100%, and I thought that was really beautiful. But Stephen around Juliana was maybe the sweetest thing. Like she at the time, she doesn't really do this anymore, but at the time, whenever she got worked up or excited, she would shake. She was still in a really bad shape. She's doing much better now, but given the circumstances, but she would shake, and so when she saw them there, she was shaking hard because she was so excited to see Jennifer and Stephen. And then when Stephen knelt down and gave her a hug, she like melted in his arms.
Oh,
She kind of like stopped shaking so much, and he like rubbed the back of her head and was like whispering in her ear and like just gave her this really big, warm, cozy hug. And it was, I think that gesture made everyone in the room just like start crying. It was so like sincere and genuine, and I was very happy about that. That changed Juliana's life. She talks about it to this day. So Steven Tyler kissed me, and da, da, da. So
oh.
she's really excited about that.
You had this show that was just giving you a platform, and that probably made you happy that you went on, I'm guessing.
It was like a saving grace. It was seriously something that just came out of nowhere, the most unexpected thing in my life to save all of our lives. Like it really did. I remember I did an interview after I had gotten eliminated. It was on like Sirius Radio, X Radio, something like that. And before I went on, they were telling me that this guy he's pretty hard on the the contestants that have been on American Idol. Like he interviews them and he kind of like, he's aggressive. And one of the first questions he asked was, so how do you feel about American Idol exploiting you and your story? And it was kind of like a pretty loaded question. And I just remember going, wow, that's strange because I felt like I used them. I'm like, I feel like I used American Idol, so I think that we used each other. I exploited them to create something, and they allowed me to use that platform. And, you know, they, I was available for them and they were available for me. And so I didn't feel it like they were doing something to me. I felt like we were doing something for each other. And it was like he was just like, man, that's the most honest answer I think I've ever gotten. He's like, and then he asked about Juliana and asked about all these things, and at the end of it he was just like, man, this is the best interview. And I was just so surprised that I didn't get like destroyed on a radio station. So I think that people really were blown away by the whole thing. uh, I don't think there's not lots of reactions like that on TV, and when there is, it sometimes feels maybe forced, and it does feel like it's kind of an exploitation, or it does feel like that's the purpose of the whole thing. But in my case, and maybe I'm just biased because I've been through it. It didn't feel disingenuous. It felt very genuine, and it felt very sincere, and it felt very like I had come back on the show to do like a guest appearance for Lee, I think his name was. And before I got in there, Ryan Seacrest gave me this big hug, and he talked to me for like 15, 20 minutes just to kind of see how I was doing. And all the people on the staff, all the producers, they remembered my name, and they, were so happy to see me. They all gave me hugs, and it was just like they were all happy to see me. They weren't like it wasn't something that they used and forgot. It was something that they all benefited from. So it felt genuine. It didn't never felt disingenuous. I think Ryan is also he's so down to earth too, which is crazy for me to think because even the judges, yeah, sure, the judges might seem crazy for to think that they could be so down to earth, but Ryan especially, he was always interested in what I was doing, always asking questions, especially when the cameras were off. He was always because he's there with the contestants all the time. He's kind of the middleman, the bridge. And so I really enjoyed getting to know Ryan. Ryan always took the time uh, you know, to ask about Juliana, and whenever Juliana was around, he was extremely sweet. And so I liked Ryan. He invited me on his radio show after I was eliminated, and he was able to uh, make things happen. And you know, a large amount of money was donated to Juliana's foundation. We were able to get a van and pay for some things, and it was it was a great moment. I think that TV show was fantastic. So Ryan's a cool dude. He's a cool dude. Oh, they were all pretty cool, honestly. I never really got a chance to get to know Randy. I just never was able to. Never could. He just was not available. Not that he didn't want to be. It's just he just wasn't. Maybe 10 seasons on the show, just always kind of trying to. Who knows? But Steven for sure, Ryan for sure, and all the people behind the scenes, all the people with the headphones on and earpieces and running around doing things for everybody and making sure the show goes well. Those are the people that I remember the most. A guy named Patrick. He was super sweetheart. I mean, I think I liked him the most. He was always great. I remember right before I did the Coldplay performance, he handed me the microphone. He's just like, "Show them how it's done, kid." And I was just like, "All right, cool. I'm gonna do
Mm.
this."
Man, he's got to hear about this. I think you're talking about Patrick Lynn. He's still with the show. He's one of the OG producers,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. He's definitely OG. He's cool. He's sweet. He always took care of me. He always made sure he has a good EQ. Like he's always kind of monitoring how contestants are feeling. I don't know if he even realizes that he's doing it, but he's kind of like he can kind of pick up on if someone's nervous or if someone's worried or if somebody's like panicked or confused about something. He's really cool. At least every time I was about to go and do something, if especially that Coldplay performance, the way that I wonder if I would have been able to sing it the same way if I didn't get that, because I remember feeling like super confident after he handed me the microphone. Like he was the thing that he said. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do good on this one.
The people at home don't always understand that it's not just these judges or Ryan Seacrest on screen that give you guys the comfort and the courage to be able to perform on stage, right? It's the people behind the scenes, so many of them backstage that are also wanting to see you succeed.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There's always somebody going, maybe you just need some water. Have you eaten anything? Make sure to eat something. Or, hey guys, I know that you've been waiting a long time. If you need anything, please let us know. If you need a place to go and you want to warm up, there we could take you to a place. If you have any questions, they were always very accommodating and trying to make sure that we felt comfortable because really, I mean, the audience gets to watch. I mean, how long's an episode? Like 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, right? I mean, we're pulling like 8 hour days sometimes, right? Especially in the beginning where we're just kind of like waiting around in a room, just waiting to be called. And the nerves are just there, as someone goes out and does their performance and then they come back in and you're kind of monitoring how they are, how they feel. And sometimes people come back disappointed in themselves. Sometimes people come back just like, yes. Sometimes you see people being let go and you're just like, damn, like this is real. And so you're waiting there, sweating bullets, swallowing sand, trying to not freak out, just, and not be bothered by everybody's confidence.
Well, it was very emotional and we became attached to you. And when you did go that round, kind of the last moment we saw of you, Jennifer Lopez was very attached to
Yeah.
you. You remember, you probably couldn't see it when you were filming, but there was a lot of emotions having to make that tough decision.
Yeah. I was pretty surprised. Like, Stephen knew that I would be all right. He was, he's no stranger to, failure or anything like that. He's, him and his band. So he kind of was just, he felt for me and everything, but he was kind of just like, hey, man, it's going to be okay. Right. But Randy, surprisingly, I felt like he had the hardest time trying to find the words to uh, kind of, because I remember asking, and I don't know if they heard this, but I remember asking, is there something I could have done better? And not because I'm trying to stay on, but just because I don't know what did you guys like about it and what didn't you? And he was trying to find the words for it, and he almost felt bad, like he didn't want to give me too many compliments because he didn't want to have to explain anything, and so he was just like stuttering over himself. But Jennifer, uh, man, I felt like she was going through a breakup. Like, she knew she had to say something, and she really didn't want to do it. And then when I gave her a hug, uh, I gave everybody a hug, but when I went to go give her a hug, she really didn't seem well. Like, she didn't seem like she felt good about it at all. She didn't feel like, relieved that she got it. Like, sometimes you just need to say it and then you feel relieved that it's over with. It didn't look like she was pretty good. And then it was later I found out that she had to stop for like an hour. All the filming, everything had to stop because she had to go and reapply her makeup, and they had to fix her up because she was crying so hard.
Hmm.
So, and I had no idea. And but that was I was surprised. Like, I remember all the contestants saying, "Yeah, we had to wait around for another hour before anybody else could go up and get eliminated," which was probably the longest hour ever.
You had an effect on the people at home. You had an effect on the production in a very positive way. As you said, the show changed your life, and I imagine that once you were sent home, of course, it hadn't aired for a little bit once you filmed it, but you probably felt that effect of being on the show for a long time, right? As far as just continuing to ride this American Idol wave.
I think one of my best experiences was I was in New York, performing my song on Good Morning America. And while I was there, I went and visited one of Juliana's cousins and her husband, and they took me to this restaurant. And I remember being so hungry because I had traveled all day and was at Good Morning America, so I hadn't eaten anything, and I got like beef stroganoff, and I was just slamming it, man. I was like shoveling it into my mouth, and as I'm sitting there with beef stroganoff sauce all over my face, I see John Mayer stand up in the restaurant, and I was like, "Holy shit! I think that's John Mayer." And everybody, like my table, turned around. They're like, "That is John Mayer." I was just like, "I'm gonna ask for a picture, right?" And so he's walking by, and I stood up and I was like, "Excuse me, John." And he turned around and he looked at me and he goes, "Chris Medina, right?" And I was just like, "Oh my god!" I just remember going, "You know who I am?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like the kid from American Idol. I was like, "Yeah." He's just like, "Man, fantastic." He's like, "I saw you on Good Morning America." He's like, "Great song." And he like, he's a tall guy, so he grabbed me on my shoulders and he was like rubbing my shoulders and he was like, "Man, I'm excited to hear what you're going to do in the future. Just keep up with the machine." That's all I could say. My advice to you: keep up with the machine. And I was just like, I'll keep whatever that means. I'll keep up with it. I know what it means now that I've been in the industry for 12 years. But we took the picture, and that was probably one of the coolest experiences without having to introduce myself. Someone who shouldn't know who I am, knowing who I am. And so I understood pretty quickly the impact of American Idol when, you know, musicians in the industry, professionals in the industry recognized who I was. So that was a nice experience.
Mm, wow.
Um, yeah, that was pretty cool.
What are words, the song that you released after American Idol? Keeping Up with the Machine, obviously. What was that process like?
So I did a bunch of interviews, and I think what made I don't know what to call it, I guess my participation on American Idol so viral or so to get all the attention that it did was my interviews. And so um, after I was eliminated, there's a point where, I'm eliminated, but it doesn't air for another 7 days or not for another 5 days. And so I didn't want to go home and have to explain to everybody why I'm home. I didn't want to have to tell them that I was eliminated. I wanted them to see it and not ask any questions. So I stayed in Los Angeles with a friend for about 5 days, two buddies of mine. And while I was there, I got a phone call from one of the producers from the show saying that Darkchild, Rodney Jerkins, was on the show. He was on the show, but he also saw my performance, my audition, and everything, and he was moved by it, and he wanted to write a song. And so he got a team together, uh, put them in a room, showed them all the clips of my interviews, and pointed out all the words that he wanted in the song that were things that I said, like what kind of guy would I be if I walked out when she needed me the most. Um, that's in the song. Calling her angel, that's in the song. Being by her side, that's in her song. And so basically, they're just kind of like rephrased words from my interviews, uh, thanks to Laura Christie, who became my mentor in the business. And so that was written after the show, after I was eliminated. But I wasn't allowed to release anything until like 3 months after the winners announced. And so the only way that they could do it was if they did a song that was for charity. And they were trying to ask, well, what charity should we like give it to? And I said, well, I opened up a trust for Juliana, and it's a foundation for her. And so we could donate it to that. They were like, sold, perfect. And so I thought that just my percentage of the song would be donated to that. But I later found out, like 2 years after the fact, that 90%, the record label, all of the writers, the producer, donated their percentage to the foundation as well. And 10% was just being used to kind of service the song, pay the people that find the money, things like that. And so for the last 12 years, the success of that song has taken care of Juliana and all of her needs and all the things that she's needed, like, um, you know, a new van, wheelchairs, medicine, to fix her bed, any kind of operation that she may need, things like that, any kind of clothes, everything is just kind of from the trust. And so that's been a lifesaver, really. I didn't realize that it was going to be a successful song. I'm very grateful that it did. It was on the Billboard for a couple weeks. It debuted at like number 16 or something. And then it became number one in like 8 different countries or something like that. And allowed me to go and tour the world. It became like a platinum song, I think, in several different countries. Allowed me to to release an album that went gold, and now I've been a professional musician for the last 12 years because of American Idol. And I fly under the radar because I'm mainly in Europe these last 8 years. But out here where fame really did kind of hit. You know, I just did a TV show not too long ago. I still play stages. I go on tour, and it works out, you know. And you know, the family back home. Whenever I go back to Chicago, I stay with Juliana and her family, and we celebrate her. I just celebrated her birthday, and so it's like that song still means something to me. You know, like we I was with her for about 5 years after the accident, maybe 4 years after American Idol. I thought that after we broke up, maybe things would dramatically change, and it's like nothing's changed. The only thing that's changed is because of the accident, not because we stopped loving each other or stopped caring for each other. So I've had a pretty amazing 12 years, and the healing process has been a lot easier because of American Idol.
How's Julie doing today?
She's doing good. She actually was annoyed with me. Just she's kind of blown up my phone right now because she's upset that I don't remember saying that I would make a song for like a Facebook dance. She has this idea that she wants to invite all of her friends from all over the United States to participate in some sort of Facebook dance.
Mm.
And she wants me to make the music for it. And so she had asked me, apparently she'd asked me, and I said yes, but I don't remember saying yes. And so when she brought it up right now, I was like, huh? And she was so annoyed. So she still has a lot of spirit. You know, she still has her things. You know, she can't really take care of herself. You know, she has limitations that won't allow her to truly take care of herself, but she still has a lot of her spirit, and she's independent in a lot of ways. She has an incredible support system. Uh, Most of the time, she seems genuinely happy, you know, which is something I was always been concerned with. But she's gotten better in her mind, and she's a great typer, so she's always on the internet causing trouble. And yeah, you know, when I went to go see her, she looked great. She had lost a little bit of weight and seemed really healthy. And we celebrated her birthday, and so it was really nice. I surprised her. I came. She didn't know I was coming home, so I surprised her.
Oh.
So she's doing great. You know, family's doing great.
We could say back then in 2011, your story is incredible, but here we are in 2023, and I'm saying with everything that's happened in the last 12 years, your story is astounding because this really is like a movie. If you think about starting off saying, I don't want to go on this show, and look what it frickin' has done for your life.
Yeah, I know it's been wild, and not just mine. I mean, Juliana's life. Just I'm telling you, so much excitement. It was the furthest thing from all of our minds that we could ever get that excited about something at a time like that. When you know, that's a very unusual accident to kind of go through because they didn't die. You know, they've totally changed, and so you're grieving a loss, but you're also focused on trying to get this person healthy enough to be able to have some sort of quality life. And you lose all sense of focus on how to process it. You know, you can't process it like you have to grieve a loss because technically they're not gone, but they are. And it's just like this crazy feeling. And so we were all in a dark place. And just, I'm telling you, this last 12 years and everything that's happened, it's really blossomed. You know, eventually maybe more for me than anybody else, but you know, because I ended up having moving to a different country and having a child. She's 5 years old now, and it's just a huge change. Go from being a South Side boy from Chicago, you know, slinging frappuccinos to, you know, going out on a tour bus and singing for thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Uh, I didn't think I would ever be in this position, to be honest with you.
What's your favorite thing about Europe?
My favorite thing about Europe is it feels like a really safe environment to have a child.
Mm.
Um, it really does. It feels my kid does things that I can't really remember doing, especially in Chicago, where I'm from. Um, maybe kids do things like this, like in places like Colorado or Oregon or something. I don't know. But my kid is so outdoorsy, and her and her classmates, they go outdoors. They learn about fires, like forest fires. They're about to go spend the night in the woods in this bar, like on a class trip. And she's only 5. She's extremely active, and there's not a lot of crime here at all. And she's happy. She's safe. I mean, my kid skips everywhere she goes. I didn't think I would be so amazed by that. She just skips everywhere. I don't want to. I hope she does that until she's like an adult. But I think that's the thing I like about Europe. I know that that has nothing to do with like food or the scenery or things like that. But um, I guess if I could say one thing, it's cozier for a musician in Scandinavia, where I'm living now. It's cozier to be a musician.
Mm.
They have things put in place to kind of protect the culture of the arts, and so we're in a good hands out here.
You think your daughter will ever sing?
She has I don't want to push her because it's a delicate thing. Sometimes if you because I'm a musician, like she really does when she sees me on TV, I think it dawns on her. When she introduces me to people, she doesn't just say this is my dad. She says this is Chris Medina. And so it's kind of like a funny thing. But I don't want to put that pressure on her. If she wants to be a singer, she can. But I notice after doing it for so many years now, uh, she does have a talent and she does have a good voice. She sings in pitch, in key, really, really well. Um, she could hum a song that she wants to listen to, and then when we pop it on, it's usually in the same key, and it's a pretty good natural gift she has. She loves to dance, so she's artistic and she's expressive and she has a lot of charisma. So I kind of have my fingers crossed because I do. It would be kind of cool if she could succeed in it because I'm almost 40 now, and my career isn't over, but I ascended pretty quick. And so now I'm like, I'm hustling now, like I'm still doing the grunt work, and gigging all the time. And, my reach, ever since I became a dad, I stopped trying to reach for the stars. When I became a father, I kind of just started to water the seed here in Scandinavia. And so this kind of became like my base. And I stopped trying to participate in the rat race, which is trying to get on top 40 or trying to get on the radio or, trying to be keeping up with all these new things, trying to keep up with the machine. I kind of stopped, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now my kid's getting a little bit older, and I feel like I could go on a tour now, but I think I have to kind of get back into the habit of oiling that machine, reinventing my brand. And so I went out and I got myself put myself together a team. I got myself a great manager now, just recently, and a booking agency that's I'm signing with. And so the goal is to kind of you know, dust off my brand and try to get outside of Scandinavia and see how far my reach can go uh, with enough time passing. You know, I'm not just I had What Are Words the song and What Are Words the album. And so I want to see how far I can go with something new, some reinvent myself in a way. So the next year or two, I'll be focusing on trying to do that. But in the meantime, I go on a Christmas tour and I have a summer tour that I go on. And so yeah, that's all I do. That's all I'm trying to do is reinvent myself.
I listened to your song "The Devil Inside." Love that song.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much. Yeah, that was the last one I think I released, and I made a music video. The music video won an award in I don't want to say the wrong country, but it won an award, and I was surprised because I'm like, it didn't stream that well on YouTube, the music video, but it won an award. So I was pretty. That might be the first award for a music video I've ever had. So go, that's great.
All these years later, having done American Idol, I have no idea if you've ever watched the show since then, whether they're in a situation very similar to yours or haven't experienced anything like it. Do you have any advice for somebody that wants to audition for American Idol?
Thought about this, and I have answered a question similar to this. There is no better moment to dig deep and figure out who you are and who you want to be than that moment.
Mm.
It's not a job interview, right? You don't have to kind of like have a false pretense or give a false impression of who you are. Genuine, be as genuine as you possibly can, and that will shine through. Be honest with your own voice and sing with that honesty and sing with that purity, and you will have the best chance of success. And that is just from my own experience because I know 100% that I am not the best singer. Uh, but everything that I did try to sing, especially my two good performances, came genuine from the heart, genuine from a place of honesty. And I think that I've done that with my career moving forward. And I think that's the ticket. Just be genuine, you know. And be if your genuine self is to be an entertainer, then go and entertain. If your genuine self is to, make people laugh and make people smile, then do that. If your genuine talent is to sing your ass off and have such an amazing voice, then go and do that. And if your natural talent is to be an expressive singer songwriter artist, then do that. Just be yourself and don't try to be anything that you're not because everybody will see right through it.
I remember like it was yesterday watching you on the show, how much you inspired me, how much I enjoyed your performances. I think a lot of Idol fans are going to be really happy to hear from you. And I'm so happy that you're doing so well. Julie's doing well. Your life is an adventure. Where can we follow you for everything that's to come?
Well, I do got the Instagram, and I do have the Facebook. So I have all those things, which are actually getting updated as we speak with my new team. So you could do that, and you could definitely follow on all the streaming services so that you can get updated when music does come out. I still release music, and I will be releasing more music frequently, which is exciting because I haven't had the fire in a long time. I've been really comfortable, just being a dad. And so if you follow those streaming services and keep an eye out, follow the Instagram and the Facebook and all the social medias, you should be updated.
Are we going to hop on the TikTok trend anytime soon?
I tried, but I'm not cool with it yet. I kind of have my toe dipped in the water, right? So I do the safe thing. Like, okay, I got to get used to this thing. So I naturally put a microphone in front of my face, pick up a guitar and sing and go, okay, that's a nice start. But I'm getting all these pointers from people saying like, oh, you could do this and this and find out how to be comfortable. And again, if it doesn't feel genuine, that's going to look silly. So I'm trying to find what is my genuine
Yes.
way of being. How do I show my personality? Because I think that people think I'm just a smiling, like nice guy, but I do have a filthy mouth. I swear like a pirate, and I do make people laugh a lot. So I'm willing to show that side of me if it feels genuine.
Yeah. If you want to follow our TikTok and Instagram at Idle Unaired Podcast, or you can also follow me, Bennett Shear, on both of those platforms at TV Music Guy. Guys, if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure that you are subscribing on YouTube or wherever you are listening. If you want to help us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever those audio platforms are, you can leave a review and 5 stars. Really appreciate you guys listening or watching. And Chris, thank you for being a part of American Idol Unaired.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, man.